Quick disclaimer, this is not medical advice. So I have a family member who's had some various heart issues, and I thought this could be a fantastic watch for him. Just like photographers say, where the best camera is the one that you actually have on you. Similar, this blood pressure cuff is always on you. But how accurate can it actually be measuring from your wrist? Well, we're going to put it up against the Bob and Brad home blood pressure monitor. Now this is a pretty hefty watch coming in at 82 grams, but compared to this Apple Watch, which only weighs 42 grams, that's quite a difference in heft. You can kind of see the physical size too. This is the smaller Apple Watch, Series 7, but quite a bit of different size and thickness. It does have a 1.41 inch AMOLED display that's super bright, but I've noticed it doesn't really respond to your touches quite as buttery smooth as I'm used to from Apple. For instance, if I dive into display, see how I just changed the brightness even though I was trying to scroll down. Now generally that's not that big of a deal, but I have noticed it to just not be as buttery smooth as I would like. Now, when it comes to faces, there's not a whole lot you can choose from. You can do it both on the app and in the watch itself. Now, always at the ready, if you swipe to the left, is your calories and step count and all that for the day. And I swipe to the right, and there's right away into the blood pressure monitor, which makes a lot of sense considering that's the main focus of this watch. You swipe again, and boom, there's your heart rate. So it's kind of nice being able to have all of that stuff right there, and then your blood oxygen level. So that's fantastic, having it right at the ready. And that's why I thought this could be great for my family member. I've always done the always on display, but if you don't, you can just hit that button and that will turn on the display. And that top and the bottom one is your menu button to dive into a bunch of the other things. Again, you got your blood pressure, heart rate monitor, all that. You can kind of see your history. You can do workouts, but if you dive into workouts, one kind of a bummer thing for me is you got outdoor walking, indoor running, and outdoor running. Those are your only options. I'm mostly a cyclist and I love to do like HIIT training, high intensity training, so none of those are really ones that I necessarily want to track anyway. Obviously you got some alarm functions, your calorie, you can do some sleep tracking. It's all that stuff's okay, weather, and then you can dive into settings there again. Like most smartwatches, I wish the battery life was longer. They say it's like 5 to 7 days. I noticed more like 1 to 2 days. Definitely long enough to easily make it through a day, but not 2, depending on what you're all doing. And it does come with this charge dock, just your very basic charge dock. Unfortunately, it is micro USB, but I wish it was USB-C, of course. As you put it in there, number one, it's really, you know if it's in there or not, which is actually a good thing. But like most smartwatches, it kind of suffers from, on your end table, there's nothing like a solid way, unless you put sticky back on the bottom, there's not like a solid way to actually comfortably put it down. But most smartwatches have that issue. I almost always prefer a Velcro based strap, and that way it's infinitely adjustable. But this one, obviously you're somewhat stuck with the wristband that's coming with it, because it's a 30 millimeter silicone wristband, but it has that blood pressure cuff built into it. But you're pretty much only going to buy this watch if you're interested in your blood pressure, because can any other watch do that? It does come with a paper measuring device to allow you to make sure that you're getting it the right tightness, right? Because that obviously can play a factor into it. You do see a little bit of a gap there because it's such a wide watch for me, but ultimately feels good, feels snug, feels secure. Not bad. Now, in order to measure your blood pressure, you're going to want to raise your wrist up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up on this box, and I'm going to put my hand on the box too, just so it's higher. You don't want to be contracting your arm, right, and holding it up above your heart, but you do want it kind of higher. So if I swipe to the right, here's my blood pressure. Here we go. Kind of gives you some tips. I feel it inflating, but I'm going to try to relax here. (114/77). One cool thing is you can go to guest mode, so then that way if you want to record check someone else's blood pressure, it doesn't actually save to your history. So that's kind of a cool feature. So now let's test out the Bob and Brad one to see how close that is. Okay, so to be fair, I'm not saying that this one's necessarily the most accurate either. I just want to see how close they are to each other. Start it up.
According to the World Health Organization standards, the measurement result is normal.
let's just go ahead and check the watch again. So 120, 112 over 81. So we're kind of getting across the map here. Try again. 118 over 80.
Your systolic blood pressure is 116.
So by no means am I a medical professional, or you can even really tell you the differences between what we were just seeing, but I do know that they were similar and both within normal readings. That's a good sign. Now, doing some of my own research, I have found that maybe it's not quite as accurate on your wrist because of the size of your arteries versus farther up on your arm. I don't know if that's accurate as well, but I wanted to share that with you. Now, I absolutely love when technology can be used as a tool to improve life. That's the point of technology, right? But it can't get in the way either. So sometimes battery life is consumed too much when you're using the blood pressure cuff because there's a tiny little pump inside this watch that's pumping up air into the wristband. I mean, this is a watch. That's pretty crazy. But when technology can be used as a tool to improve someone's life because they can now check their blood pressure anytime, within a minute, sitting down, whatever, that's pretty cool. Now, I will say for my family member, I really hope that this would have worked out for them, but it's a little too fancy in their words for them. They just like the generic watches, not a fancy smartwatch, especially one that they were afraid to break or crack. I mean, this is a glass screen, and it could crack if you drop it. It's not the smallest watch, as I mentioned, but sometimes technology gets in the way, I guess. Let me know what you think. Is this the right watch for you? Do you need to test your blood pressure often? If so, this could be a fantastic choice. Maybe even save some lives.